What's up, everybody? This is Aaron from the Blue Tuber, and today we're going to be talking about the anime series Yu-Gi-Oh! And specifically, we're talking about the first arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, everything before GX and beyond. So, just the entire first story arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which involves Yugi Moto, so nothing else. So, we're just going to be talking about this, because this is the one that I grew up with and loved and watched. I really started getting into 5Ds, but this was mine. The first arc with Yugi was mine and mine alone. Favorite, I should say. So today we're going to be talking about the show, basically. Now, I am an avid player of the actual trading card game, so you can tell that it's a big part of me. The show is probably one of my top 5 animes. Yes, it has its silly moments, but I'm a hardcore fan, and I will defend those. So today we're going to be talking about the main protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is Yugi Moto. He is a young boy whose grandfather runs a card shop, and they have a game in their universe. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is called Duel Monsters. And Yugi has an item called the Millennium Puzzle, one of 7 Millennium items, and in Yugi's particular item, there is a dormant spirit of which you eventually find out is the Pharaoh of Egypt, a former Pharaoh of Egypt named Atom, or people call him Yami. So every now and then, when Yugi would duel, before he would duel, Yami would appear from his puzzle and basically take over his body and play. That was basically the gist of Yu-Gi-Oh! It was a card game, and they made this card game bigger than life itself, because there were certain situations where the fate of the world depended on a card game. But you got to suspend your disbelief, a suspension of disbelief, I should say, with that. I still love the show. But with every great protagonist comes every great antagonist or rival. And today we're going to be talking about Yugi's greatest rival. Who is Yugi's greatest rival? And I've got, I was able to compile 8 candidates as far as being a big rival. And Yugi's challenged a lot of people throughout the show. But these 8 individuals, I think, stick out more as far as how they interacted with the character itself of Yugi. Some people could imagine rival could mean competitive rival. But it could also mean a very hated rival too. A lot of the main antagonists from some of the arcs in Yu-Gi-Oh! Were great rivals to Yugi. They could be considered rivals. They're the antagonist to his protagonist. So to me, that counts as a rivalry. So yes, I am using main villains in this debate or discussion. I made a list of 8. I'm going to go ahead and knock off one of them from this list, because I don't think they would make it farther into my discussion, and that's Joey. Yes, I think Joey is one of Yugi's best competitive rivals. Now, you could argue that Kaiba is a competitive rival of Yugi, but Kaiba at one point wanted to end Yugi and was evil at one point. So Joey wasn't really evil except for when he was controlled by Marik. So I consider him more of a competitive rival. So I don't really want to put Joey into this discussion, but don't discourage the fact that he is one of Yugi's best rivals, though. Now, first thing people are going to automatically assume it's Kaiba. Kaiba has to be Yugi's best rival, because he's the Vegeta to Yugi's Goku, basically. I like to say it like that. They're friends one day, enemies the other. They've expanded through most of the show together, and he's Yugi's natural rival. And I will give him that. He's Yugi's natural rival. I think in the universe, everything has a yin and yang, and those two are the yin and yang of each other. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's his greatest rival. You can look at Maximilian Pegasus, the first main villain of the show. He was a very good rival to Yugi, because Yugi was fighting for the soul of his grandfather, and then eventually the soul of Kaiba and Mokuba. So they shared the common immediate rivalry of the fact that they both carried a Millennium item. So they're trying to see who was the superior one. And Yugi was fighting for his family, but Pegasus was fighting just to be the best. And when he wanted the Millennium item, and he used the power of the Shadow Game to try to steal Yugi's soul. And It was a great rivalry. It led to a really great duel between the two. But I don't think Pegasus is the greatest. You look at a very overlooked one, and that's Weevil Underwood. Weevil was a dick. He was a rival. He's only dueled Yugi twice, as far as I remember, as far as I can remember. But he's always been sort of that pain in the ass that Yugioh has to deal with. First off, he threw Exodia into the frickin' water. What the fuck? That piece of shit. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Seriously. Oh, God. I would have beat his ass. Anyway. He gets his comeuppance rather early in Duelist Kingdom. And then he does get his ass beat by a very pissed off Pharaoh towards the midpoint of the Orichalcos saga, as I like to call it. You don't want to piss with the Pharaoh there during that point, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. But yeah, Weevil could be considered a rival. I would just think as contention-wise. I don't think he's Yugi's greatest rival, because he only dueled him twice, and he really only appeared. His 2 separate appearances were very spread out, so it wasn't like he was a mainstay on the show. Marik. Now, Marik was the main villain of the Battle City saga, and Marik was a fucked up guy. I mean, Pegasus was sick at some point. Marik was just ridiculous. Marik was sadistic, and he was so evil that his face was trying to come off. He was trying to melt off. Yeah, that's how evil this guy was. I don't know why I'm looking here. Sorry. Marik was definitely a bigger rival to Yugi than Pegasus was, because of the fact that Marik had a stronger tie to the Pharaoh itself, being a tomb keeper and a guardian of the Pharaoh, which manifested in an evil spirit that was inside his Millennium item, the Millennium Rod. They used the Egyptian gods. Yugi had Slifer, and he had Obelisk, but Marik had Ra, so it was a battle of who had the better control of the gods. Their final fight was back and forth. It was crazy. Marik eventually lost, the evil Marik, and the good part of Marik lived, carried on, and became an ally. So yes, I think Marik was a great rival, but I still don't think he's Yugi's greatest rival. We can talk about Dartz a little bit. Dartz wasn't necessarily my favorite. Dartz was the leader of the Atlanteans, who were trying to take over the world with the Orichalcos and bring forth the great Leviathan. Yeah, that stupid bullshit. Yeah, he was sort of the puppeteer of everything, but if we want to talk about that particular storyline, I think there's one other person who would be a much better candidate for a Yugi's rival discussion than Dartz. Raphael, one of Dartz's henchmen. Now, him and Yugi dueled twice, and they had a shorter history than Yugi and Weevil did, but this motherfucker, this guy, he got Yugi or at least the Pharaoh, to turn evil. He forced him to use the Seal of Orichalcos. He played his hand. He got under the skin of the Pharaoh, got him to indulge in his inner dark side. And it cost Yugi his soul there for a while. And it caused Yugi, the Pharaoh, to just kind of go off in this hatred. That's why when Weevil fucked with him the second time, you shouldn't have done that, because the Pharaoh was ruthless, and he was more determined because he let someone get into the dark side. And Raphael, of course, is redeemed towards the end. But I think just that storyline between the Pharaoh and Raphael was much stronger than the Pharaoh and Dartz. It just, there's no comparison. There's one individual that I'm saving now for last. A lot of people are probably wondering, why haven't you mentioned this guy yet? But the reason I haven't mentioned him yet is because, in my opinion, this individual is not only Yugi's greatest rival, but I believe he is the true villain and antagonist of the entire series. And that is Bakura. Now, Bakura is unique because Bakura, up until the last saga where they went back in ancient Egypt, was a horrible villain as far as winning. Bakura barely won. He only won The only time I remember him winning was against Bones and his gang in the graveyard, but Bones and them were shit. But every time Bakura was in a big-time duel, whether that be his first duel with Yugi in Duelist Kingdom, dueling Yugi in the Battle City Finals, dueling Marik, there was just, he was, I'll give you a great example of why, even though it does, I'll give you a great example of why it didn't matter if he lost or not. When he dueled Marik, Marik fused himself with the Winged Dragon of Ra and launched an actual attack at Bakura because they're in the Shadow Realm and things get real. He was pissed and he was a little irked that, yeah, I lost, because I don't think Bakura really likes the fact that he loses. I think he really tries to win, but in the end, he doesn't. He's like, he laughs it off because he will never be destroyed. As long as Yugi and the Pharaoh are alive with the puzzle, Bakura was safe. When Bandit Keith, who was possessed by Marik, stole the Millennium Puzzle and hung it up and was threatening to, he dueled Yugi for control of it and then attempted to murder the child by burning down the building or warehouse they were in, Yugi had, the puzzle was smashed by Bandit Keith as a way to ha ha ha. You may have beat me in this duel, but I'm still going to destroy the puzzle. Bakura found one missing piece and infused the dark spirit of his ring in it. So he knows as long as Yugi and the Pharaoh are winning and have that puzzle, Bakura has a way to come back. And it's revealed that he was the King of Thieves in the last saga, which is really cool. That was who the spirit was in the ring. And they have their epic clash in ancient times, and it just all comes full circle. And I just, to me, that sticks out more. It's cool to realize and think, well, Bakura was the main villain of the show, no doubt. He may have not have been there every single time, but he was a continuing, he was a singular constant throughout the show. Bakura didn't have to always be there because he could just wait in the shadows because he could pop up at any time. The Pharaoh was harboring his most dangerous enemy with him. And that's why I think, in my honest opinion, Bakura was Yugi's greatest rival. Now, your all's opinions could be different, and that's fine. If so, leave your comment, like this video, and subscribe. And let me know your opinions, and let me know who you think Yugi's greatest rival was. As for now, this is Aaron from the BlueTuber. I'll see you next time.